Hello and welcome to the Economy This Week series of Drishti IS. I am Ritu and today's session is about important economic events which had happened in the past week, and this session is important for your GS 3 perspective. So moving towards to the points of discussion part. So first of all, we are going to discuss about the high net worth individuals. Then we are going to discuss about Indian digital economy. Then we are going to discuss about the care economy. So these are the three topics which we are covering in today's session. First topic, which is high net worth individuals. Let's look at the news. India's millionaire population rise 6% in 2024. Number of billionaire reaches 198. Knight Frank. So there is a report by Knight Frank, and in that report we have got that India's billionaire number has increased. So I just want to ask you a question before going to any discussion, that first you have to think a little bit about that. Is it a good sign that India's billionaires number is increasing? So this is a very thoughtful thing which you have to think and which you have to understand, that is it a good sign for Indian economy or is it a good sign for India or not? So moving to the number of Indian high net worth individuals, those having assets more than $10 million, rose to 6% last year to 85,698 according to Knight Frank. So Knight Frank is a global property consultant and that has released its wealth report 2025. So this is also very much important for examination. They can ask that who released the wealth report 2025. So it is released by the Knight Frank, and it has estimated that high net worth individuals population in India at 85,698 in 2024 as against 80,686 in the preceding year. So the number of high net worth individuals are increasing day by day. So we'll have more discussion. So the number is expected to rise to 93,753 by 2028. So it will keep rising, reflecting India's expanding wealth landscape, consultant said. And the increasing trend of high net worth individuals population highlights the country's strong long-term economic growth, increasing investment opportunities, and evolving luxury market, positioning India as a key player in global wealth creation. So one thing it is sure that the number of billionaires are increasing, the number of high net worth individuals are increasing. It shows that India has capacity to create wealth, and this is a sign of wealth creation. Then India's billionaire population. The billionaire population has also seen a strong year-on-year growth in 2024. India is now home to 191 billionaires, of which 26 joined the ranks in the just last year, which was pegged at just 7 in 2019. So here we can see that the billionaires numbers are also increasing, high net worth individuals numbers are also increasing, and it shows that India has capacity for the wealth creation. So we'll discuss one more. The combined wealth of Indian billionaires is estimated at $950 billion, ranking the country's third globally behind the US, $5.7 trillion, and mainland China, $1.34 trillion. So here we have ranked third globally in the number of billionaires or wealth of Indian billionaires. So in wealth of Indian billionaires, our number is third. We have first number which is US and second is China. And India's growing wealth underscores its economic resilience and long-term growth potential. And the country is witnessing unprecedented rise in high net worth individuals driven by entrepreneurial dynamism, growth, integration, and emerging industries. And it is not just in scale but in evolving investment preferences of India's elite and diversifying across asset classes from real estate to global equities. And in the decade ahead, India's influence in global wealth creation will only strengthen. So here, what is the concluding remark of this whole point of discussion? That the number of billionaires are increasing, the number of high net worth individuals are increasing, and according to this particular piece of article, what we have got to know about that India has potential for wealth creation. People are investing from real estate to other equities and other kind of investment opportunity. They are grabbing it, and they are also diverting their investment opportunity to in diverse things. So this can be a good sign, but here we have to see that India has capacity for wealth creation. We do agree that. But we have to also think this, that if the wealth creation should not be limited to only few individuals, if it should be for the masses, then other people who are below the poverty line and the people who are struggling for day-to-day lives, if there will be more opportunity for the wealth creation, then it can be said that this is a good sign for India. Now we'll discuss the next topic. Next topic is about Indian digital economy. So in previous lecture of economy this week, we had discussed about the rural digital economy and what is the difference. So here we are going to discuss about the Indian digital economy overall, and here we'll keep a term which is user economy. So here India digital economy ranked 28th on user spending report. So while India is the third largest economy in the world, user economy ranks 28th in the world. So what is here user economy? So user economy states that how users are affording and how users are investing in a particular kind of situation. So here we are talking about in terms of digital, and a report by the Indian Council of Research on International Economic Relation, Process Center for Internet and Digital Economy, and it means that India as a country has achieved high level of digitalization at an aggregate level. The level of digitalization for the average Indian remains fairly modest. So we have achieved a high level of digitalization, but if you see that what is the average number, or is it equally distributed or not, then it is modest in nature. So coming to the another discussion, which is that digital growth versus connectivity. So while internet density is comparable to other country, user spending in India's digital economy is significantly higher. So here what it says that internet density in comparable to other countries, user spending in India's digital economy is higher. So we have what you can say digital growth, but there is a problem in connectivity. Then what is the future potential we have? Despite disparity, there is a strong potential for investment in digital penetration because the numbers are high in India. Rapid expansion. India's digital economy is growing twice as fast as overall economy and is expected to make up 1/5 of the GDP by 2029. And CHIPS framework ranking, India is the third largest overall economy but ranks 28th as a digital user economy. In an overall combined ranking, India stands 8th place. Overall, we are talking about, and the ranking considers quality, affordability, data intensity, fintech, AI readiness, and green energy investment. So these are the criteria for the ranking that we have to also check that, okay, we have mobile phones, but is there any connectivity? Is there any affordability? We have mobile phones, but do we have money to recharge our SIM? So these are the things we have which needs and which are the criteria to check the strengthening of the India's digital economy. So coming to the digital harnessing, so strong in tech utilization, India excels in harnessing existing technology driven by high ICT service exports and third largest IT sector market capitalization after the US and China. So India excels in harnessing existing technology. So whatever the technology we have, we are harnessing it at full capacity, and we are just behind the US and China. Then regional digital divide, we had already discussed that there is a digital divide in terms of region, in terms of caste, in terms of gender. So southern and western states are more advanced in digitalization compared to the eastern and northern states. So this is one of the highlights. And innovation strength, India has decentralized finance, strong startup culture, and high unicorn valuations. Areas for improvement, India lacks in consumer and metaverse adoption, ranks low in AI infrastructure, and is slightly below median AI research among G32 countries. So here, if we'll discuss about the conclusion of this whole discussion, then it shows that on an aggregate level, we are improving better, we are doing better. But if you see that what the regional veracity is there, what is the regional problem, regional digital device is there. So we are lagging behind. So we need to cure all these kind of things which we have. Also, we have to focus on AI, and we have to focus on the connectivity, we have to focus on affordability, and we have to see that if we are densely using it, then it should have, the access should have to with everyone. They should not be divided. So now we are going to discuss about the care economy, and this is the news centering care in India's economic policy. So what is about care economy? So care economy is the thing where individuals are involved into the care structure. And what is the care structure? Taking care of the children, taking care of the elderly people, taking care of the members belonging to their house. So these are the parts of the care economy. So domestic works comes under the care economy. Then we have crèche system, which comes under the care economy. So here we are talking about that why women are centered across the care economy. So as you already know that in India and across the world also, women are the largest contributor to the care economy. So the union budget for 2025 allocated record 4,49,028.68 crore to the gender budget, marking 37.3% increase from financial year 2024 and accounting for 8.86 of the total budget. So this is the very much important for a prelims examination, that how much percentage gender budget we have. So it is 8.86 of the total budget, and this rise is primarily due to the inclusion of PM Garib Kalyan Ann Yojana, which accounts 24% of the gender budget, rather than being driven by substantial investment in care infrastructure or new gender responsive scheme. So this particular news is about that we have increased our gender budget, and here there is also a lacking system here, that we have not increased and we are not much focused on the care infrastructure. And here we are talking about that we need to improve our care infrastructure and other gender responsive schemes. So if we talk the burden of unpaid care work, so as you already know that women are mostly involved into the care economy. So in India and in most of the country, the care economy is unpaid, and which is a very problematic, because if a woman is washing utensil at her house, then people always assume that it's her duty. So there is no monetization of washing utensils. So this is a very what you can say unfortunate for care economy. So Indian women spend 40% more time on unpaid care work than women in South Africa and China. 53% Indian women remain out of the workforce due to care responsibilities compared to 1.1% of men. So here we can see that how much difference we have in terms of men and women. So we have for men, only 1.1% men are involved into the care economy, and in terms of women, 53% of Indian women are part of the care economy and care responsibilities, and because of that, they cannot go outside and continue any job. Then marginalized women often juggle 17 to 19 hours of daily tasks, leading to time poverty. So here, what time poverty suggests? So time poverty is that suppose that you're not getting time, what you're willing to do, you're not getting time to do that. And here we are talking about the marginalized women, because they have to do their household chores also, they have to go for the outside work also. So out of 24 hours, they are spending 17 to 19 hours of work onto the such kind of the things. Climate change worsens the burden, with water related unpaid labor projected reach $1.4 billion by 2050. So there is a water shortage issue, and women has to go to very far away to fetch water, and there is no monetization for that, there is no talk about that, there is no care about that, and that has, what you can say, increases the time poverty among the women. So we'll discuss some more points. So what are the proposed solutions we have? So proposed solution we have recognizing what is the, what you can say, uncare economy and other things. So time use surveys can help, but integration into existing household survey is needed. Then reducing burden, investing 2% of the GDP in care infrastructure could create 11 million jobs. So here we need to more focus on the investment on the care infrastructure. And then expansion of Jal Jeevan Mission and child care, elder care and assistive technology is crucial. Redistributing care work, because there is no distribution of care work. It has been assumed that care work belongs to women. So there needs to be redistribution. And rupees 1 lakh crore urban challenge fund can support urban redevelopment and care services. Smart cities mission and Bogota's care blocks offer scalable models. Representation in policy making, including women in decision making, leads to 6 to 7 times better outcomes. So we need to include women whenever we are designing any policies or taking any decisions related to women. And then we need a gender responsive budget. Despite its Nari Shakti focus, the current budget lacks a strategic approach to care work. A well-funded transformative policy shift is needed to ensure care work becomes a core pillar of inclusive growth rather than an afterthought. So we have suggested various measures apart from the government schemes, and we have to make this as a what you can say, we have to change our mentality that care economy does not belong to the women. If there will be distribution of work among men and women, then we can see more participation of women as a workforce. And also, most of the time when women go for any job, there is no job available. So we need to create jobs for the women, so that if women are stepping outside of their home, there must be a job, and they should not be limited just to one kind of sector, which is care economy, and which is largely unpaid in this country. So coming to the discussion part of the question, what is the key challenges faced by women in low income families due to unpaid care work? Lack of access to education, increased time poverty and well-being erosion, high participation in the workforce, reduced dependency on state welfare programs. So you can answer into the comment section. Then we have another one. According to Knight Frank's Wealth Report 2024, by what percentage did the number of high net worth individuals in India increase year on year? 4%, 6%, 10%, 12%. So you can answer into the comment section. Then we have another one. What does the term user economy refer to in the context of digitalization? The number of internet service providers in a country, the level of digital adoption and usage by individual citizens, the percentage of GDP contributed by the digital economy, the total number of online transactions in an economy. So you can answer into the comment section. And that's it for today's session. I hope you like this session. If you have any queries related to this session, kindly ask into the comment section. And what is the highlight of today's discussion? So we do got few terms, which is one is user economy, another is time poverty, the third is care economy. So these terms are very much important for a prelims examination. So do revise these terms. And as you already know that Holi sale has arrived, and on the occasion of Holi, Drishti IAS has come up with a 60% discount on all its online courses. So do check the 60% discount and call on to the number 87501 87501. Thank you for your cooperation.
For more informative content, like, share and subscribe, and do not forget to press the bell icon to get the notifications.